Roleplay Cafe. I want to get on here to give a recap and reflections of the game that we played last night. I happened to run my sons in Dark Age of Man. It was the impromptu session. They happened to be in the same area at the same time. You know, the planets aligned, as it were, and we were able to sit down for a couple hours and do what initially I thought was a one-shot, which could potentially move on to more. But nevertheless, I'll call this session to raise the fyrd, to raise the field. Anyway, one of my sons he wanted to play a noble. This is the first time he's ever played a role-playing game. Okay, so he picked a noble. And admittedly, he's a bit of a ham, so I thought he would, try to jockey for that position in society to throw his weight around and probably take advantage of situations. Well, anyway, that was my at first blush, it was my impression. We sat down at the table, and I played Eric's seeds that he's so kindly given to us to contributed to the book. As I flipped through it and I selected that one. So anyway, at the onset, one of my sons was playing the noble Lord True, and Jorian, which you've seen here on the channel, he decided to play his right-hand man, his man-at-arms parent, more or less as a bodyguard. They thought they would be heading through Dredgewater onto the other side. Now, as they approached, it's a nice spring day. There's crops on either side of them, all but cloudless, perfect weather, around 65, 70 degrees. And the nobleman, Lord Truce, is on his horse as Perrin walks alongside, a little bit ahead. He's a little bit tentative about possible ambush in this area because someone could be hiding in the crops, as it were. But, nothing overtly obvious, is playing. Just a cautious protecting of his lord. But anyway, from the vantage point of the horse, and Perrin sees this as well, spilled out halfway into the roadway from the crops area, they see a body. And it seems to be moving. It's a little ways off. But so Perrin goes forward to check it out, and some crows that had been around the body are burst up out of the field, and he sees the man. Looks like a peasant. From what he could ascertain, a farmer that is laid and badly beaten and bruised and bloodied up. Well, he tries to turn over and right in the man, and the man is, one eye swollen shut. Sun's beaming down. It's reaching, the high point of midday, and Perrin tries to give some aid and help the man sit up right. When he does, some notices the wound in his side spills out a little blood. He tries to arrest it and bind him up and lay him back down. The man's agitated and scared for his daughter, and said that his cottage was set upon by raiders. They beat him bloodied and chased him, and then he can see a pathway that's somewhat trampled through the crops leading to that point, and more footprints around the area. And it seems that they are returning back, and they had left him for dead, returning back to the cottage. Now, at this point, Lord True comes up, and they gather the man up, and bind him to the horse, and they know they can see the smoke off in the distance from both from one from the cottage, and secondarily from Dredgetown. So they know that the town isn't that far off. It's just over the rise and down. And he's got a good horse, and he trusts the horse to stay on the path to get to where it's going. And they tied him into it because they want to both urgency that the farmer, had given them, see if they can find out and possibly rescue the daughter. But anyway, they set the man out, and he had passed out from his wounds as they'd lifted him up and tied him to the horse, and then the horse leads off. Well, it goes down and then up a rise, and they start to, after discussing for a second how to approach this cottage, they hear dogs baying and the horse neighing and galloping faster. They come up over the rise and see the horse, Lord True does, being harried by hounds as it chases them over, and you don't see the body on the ground anywhere along the path. So I guess the body of the farmer, who's still alive, he's just lost a lot of blood. They're trying to get him to the city to where maybe he can get some help. At that point, he's still affixed to the horse as far as what they can ascertain. Horse goes over the rise. There is, and then the dogs disappear from it, but over the rise should be the town. Well, they want to make sure of this, so Lord True decides to go to approach to see that that the man is still affixed to the horse, as well as trying to gather some help. So upon second, the situation, he cuts off the side of the road and goes through the crops to make sure that, along the path to try to get to Dredgetown. Perrin cuts off and tries to approach the cottage and find out what's going on. Eventually does get to the edge of the cottage. He sees, or rather hears, some strange language that upon rolling he can't make heads or tails of it. He does see some bearded, braided warriors with axes as well as round shields and bucklers that is basically overturning and looking for something in the house. He sees about 5 around the outside as well as some on the inside. There's a couple of oxen, pigs. One of the oxen is being taken down by one of the raiders. He doesn't see the girl anywhere in sight. He tries to move himself around on the edge of the crops to approach the raider that is taking out one of the oxen. This is still yoked to the other oxen. So at this point, he comes out and he impales the unsuspecting raider. The raider turns around, horror-stricken, and he hits him again. And on the roll, though, he gets a 1. Critical fail. The ox itself, he takes him out with a second blow, then tries to, on a luck roll, tries to slap the oxen to get it moving in the direction toward the raiders, which they've already begun to set the place alight, to fire the cottage. And all the animals, whatnot that are nesting up in the thatch roof are all getting out quickly as it's coming up in blaze. It's emblazed. But on his roll of 1 with the luck, the oxen pivots around and drags the plow that is still affixed to the yoke and it hits him on the side swipes him. He tumbles over and gets pinched by the blade. So he's somewhat battered up from that exchange. But the commotion does draw the attention to them, but luckily he's been obscured by the view. The raiders can't see him because the oxen in the hole is wheeling around in such a way that it's blocked of his view. And he does have his sword knocked from his hand and churned up in the earth, so he can't locate that. The other raider has been caught up. The one that he had downed has been caught up behind the plow and is being pulled along by the oxen. So he runs and gets slowly into the crop and lays low. Now, Lord True gets to the town. One of the guards has chased off the hounds that were harrying the horse. He sees them disperse and run off into the woods. As he approaches, the guardsman notices him, as well as he stopped his horse and is helping the man off, and he notices this noble approach, and immediately takes him to Lord True requests he takes him to Lord Washburn. The guard does find they have to take him up there to the physician this in Dredge Town, as well as he stables his horse, but he leads him straight up there. There's another guard at the door of the south palisade that let him in, and another guard goes inside to see if he can gain audience with Lord Washburn, right? Well, after a while, he returns a little bit longer than what Lord True would have expected. But he stands there and waits nevertheless. And you see the guard come out, and he's watching. You hear the bell goes off, and it seems that word and all the chambermaids, all of the serfdom that's inside of Dredge Town, the military guards, it's like the word is spreading fast that something is amiss. And the guard comes up and apologizes profusely and says that his lord has been slain for all of intent, purposes and appearances. So Lord True marches in there. Take me to him. He goes inside the hall. He sees up the stairwell. He sees this river of blood that's going down the stairs, and the Lord is falling at the top of the stairs. His arm flopped open, and it looks like bloody masses around his neck and down his arm, and it's just trailing that way. And by that time, the other guard has brought in the physician from an interior encampment inside of the fortifications, and he goes up there and he's trying to work on the Lord. And they take him to at this time the children and the Lord Washington's wife is coming out, and she's in much distress. Lord True then announces, because of the situation, that he's commandeering the fortification. That he is down from under his authority from London. He will be taking over, and he immediately tells the men at arms there to gather resources, lock down the area, and also that there was a situation. They do that. They gather arms. There's probably about 18 men. He leaves 2 guards there to lock down. Says don't let anyone enter or leave once they find out the situation's clear. This fortification. And there's a situation that he needs to take care of. And he had told Perrin that he would return with some aid. So then they take off toward the farmstead to try to rejoin Perrin and possibly find the girl. All right. So they head off that way. Now Perrin is laying low inside the crops. He hears something, a whimpering, sobbing, off to his right about 15, 20 foot or so. He creeps his way through there. He hadn't been discovered yet. Right now, the other raiders are around trying to dislodge the body that was underneath the plow, and they take down the other oxen that falls. And he finds the girl. He does manage to calm her down and keep her from going in hysterics and alerting the the nearby raiders. He picks her up, keeps the low thing, and manages to get away, still away deeper into the crops, but he gets lost. And he can't find any bearing. The sun's high in the sky, and he ends up going askew of where he was originally intending, which is where he was trying to Lord True. Now, Lord True is already, when he gets there, he already sees that the blaze off in the distance where the farmer is, and his the Lord Washburn's man-at-arms points it out to him as well, and he gets him into a military arrow-like formation, and to approach through the crops and go over the rise and down into, he sees that little mushroom top glow and the black smoke. So they try to hurriedly get there because they, it's something amiss. The farm is on fire, obviously the cottage, right? So they're trying to make their way up the rise with the crop still. They're in corn. So it's fairly high, so they're somewhat obscured. He does tie his tunic to one of the spears, and has one of the younger guys be a banner for them, and he directs that they should all, because of the corn, rally around that point. As long as they see that still standing, then they should fight and keep on fighting. And, use that as a center mass of their forward march. The point of the spear, so to speak. But nevertheless, whenever they get there, luck isn't on their side, as the flames, as they come up over that rise, if they feel the heat and the ash, smoke, soot come up, and the fire's already jumped off the cottage onto the crops and is blowing up and spreading fast up the slight slope right in the other direction. They try to wheel to the right to outpace it and to get around it. On a failed luck roll, unbeknownst to them, the raiders have already seen them from that vantage point, so they're making their way up to the left. They're trying to get around the fire. Lord True and his men are wheeling around that, and yet trying to keep some kind of foundation. He's trying to keep his men under control from breaking in the fear, because some of them are more seasoned professionals, but other ones are more of a militia type. You can tell they were farmers pulled off the thing. Even a couple of them have pitchforks. But nevertheless, when they're wheeling around to the side, and the fire is almost pushing them too, because it's already, the wind's whipped and changed several directions and pushed the fire to the side. So literally they're between a rock and a hard place, or got their backs to a fire as it's pushing them to the side. Well, at this point, Perrin he's got the girl in his hand and he's stowed away, but he hears the marching, here's, the announcements of trying to control the troops and the marching order, and it gives him direction. He sees the banner alight, and he's able to triangulate his position and he diverges from going to where originally his plan was which the first incident arose with the farmer there, where he's supposed to meet him. He knows the Lord True, and he does recognize the banner. It's not the enemy, but his Lord has returned with reinforcements, as promised. So he veers over there and meets up with him, but he ends up getting caught up into the this fire in the middle of this wheeling column. So he takes the girl over there, gives it to the standard bearer, and takes his spear, ushers the standard bearer out. At the time he had arrived, though, the battle had already occurred, because right when he was arriving, the sea peoples, which they don't know exactly what it is, and Lord True does recognize on a mind roll that he recognizes these people. But after the battle has already started, whenever he glances at these shield wall, the paintings, and the guttural language that he sees, and it's thick with corn, vision obscured with all the smoke and ash and soot, and the bodies that are entangled as the sea peoples move up, the Jakar move up and engage into his right flank. And they literally start going down. We had a situation where Lord True would stop, I think twice. He used his turn. In the first turn, he did magnificently, rolled a crit, and was able to take out one of the raiders by himself. Secondarily, his newfound Lord Washburn's men-at-arms rolled a critical fail right after that and had his head literally taken off, which demoralized some of his men. That's why he used his next turn to reestablish the morale and keep them from breaking as the fire was at their back and they was trying to push forward. So literally they're pinched between a fire at their back and these Northmen, sea peoples, at their front. So, granted, if they would have failed a couple of rolls and they knew this, they would be pushed back into the fire, right? So they had to, at least they couldn't have 2 consecutive failures on this. So it was out of the frying pan and into the fire. Maybe it gets out of fire nevertheless, but they push down and they're able to. It's back and forth. They lose a couple of men. There was in total, by my count, 7. Originally 8, but Perrin had taken out 1 at the oxen incident, the oxbow incident. But they push on and are able to. He's able to contain his men. They're able to listen to him, even in the face of them losing their own man-at-arms in horrific fashion right in front of their eyes. But he's got a new man-at-arms that steps in, the Lord Perrin, and they're able to push these men forward and break down the wall, the defensive shield wall. He tried to at least keep one of them alive to gather some information, probably on any kind of other army or where something would be. It didn't work out that way. The flames actually arose and took out the last of the warriors who was clanging his axe to his shield and bellowing at them. And luckily was able to, in the encircling flame, was able to lead his men out of that before they fully got encircled with it. And so they did escape that situation with the loss of 2 or 3 of his men. So they came out fairly well in that, it was 3. The men-at-arms and 2 of the other fighting men. But they did retain the militia or the army, though small it was, in good stead. So at this point, we kind of did the epilogue as far as like getting back and then making sure that the role with the boy, he did make it back with the girl. She did reconvene and get with her father. And he was able to come back. He stayed there. Lord True stayed there long enough and sent word to London about some resupplying and about the potential danger of the sea peoples raiding the area and that they were there. And he stayed there long enough to reestablish and help until the boy Wesley, which was 17, until he became at age so he could transition and take over lordship of the area. So Lord True just kind of intermediary took over a stewardship to commandeer and kind of reset Dredgetown as it was. But the Reflections, the game went surprisingly well when they stood up. The 2 players, they said, he said, I could do this every week. My son that played Lord True, who hadn't ever showed any kind of interest toward playing role-playing games at all. I thought at this time he did it was kind of just to humor me. Nevertheless, he's up for playing again. Jory and my other son said, yeah, we need to continue on this. But I had in my mind of a short one-shot. That's how I framed it. But it could be potentially onward because there are situations where, got to resolve, if you want to resolve who exactly murdered or assassinated Lord the Lord of Dredgetown. We don't know yet, or any pending situation with any kind of potential sea people's army. It could be encroaching. Is this just a small detachment, a raiding party? What is that deal? So they're interested in going further with it, and we might, and if we do, I'll put up another recap of the continuing adventures. But so far, this was a great start. And I think it transitioned well. I'm glad to see, the seriousness of the Middle Ages. There was no grandstanding on Lord True's part. He took it seriously whenever that situation arose, whenever the Lord that he was going to speak with died. He commandeered and stood up and organized and took it was a good moment. For a new player to step into the shoes of a noble, and not go all murder hobo, because some people have a tendency to do that, but he took it seriously and it was locked down to trying to, contain the situation and address the other situation with the farmer's daughter and what was going on with that raiding party. So he took it seriously and he maneuvered. So it was good. And they originally set, their understanding of each other and their position with each other that formed their cohesive party as far as the Lord and his bodyguard, as it were, essentially, his man at arms. So they approached it and they did what they could to work together. Early on, there was more speaking back and forth to each other in character. Lord True did great speaking to NPCs. In the latter part, when it was handling he did good with pulling back and in recognizing that he needed to use his prestige to encourage those around him to keep them from breaking, because it was always imminent danger. I was very expressly forward with that information. So, he forego his ability to attack or to hit, or that, kind of visceral pleasure you may get from attacking, to do that from a standpoint of a noble that was trying to lead men. So it was very effective. It was very effective. It helped contain them from making their difficulties on the road, their target difficulties more increased, as it were. With the fire at their back and the sea peoples at their front. It could have exponentially just kind of risen, depending on the situation, right? So you adjust that as you go, but he was able to balance that and boost it back up and keep it at a level to where it was still conceivable that they could fight these sea peoples and win. So that was good. That was good. It was pleasurable. Both of them had a good experience. I myself, try to balance between going back and forth between the two. Jason and I will reference that to like the Star Wars effect, where you can actually split the party. It's not detrimental. You can have one go here and one go there, and it still flows. It's very narrative. When you jump and cut scene over to the other guy and then go to his situation, and then you break back and forth to the other, and they're not, the authenticity of the play. No one broke, and meta played. And there was a question like me, I don't know this yet. And I said, no, you don't. So you have to react, and you have to do, even when he's in Cornfield and noticing, as far as Perrin, noticing, where Lord True was. And Lord True said, well, he doesn't know where I am. So he was very cognitively aware that the characters that were playing, he couldn't play with that information and knowledge that he was overhearing that Perrin, his location. That's why he said, I know he's out here somewhere. I have to take we got to make a banner. I do that to let him know, and let people that are, in fact, to let him know that we are here as well as where we are, so he can rejoin us. So it went really well. I was pleased with it. And, sounds like we're going to have another session, and who knows, may join at that point, but both of them are up for it. So anyway, I digress from further further talk about it. But yeah. Anyway, great game, and I'll come back with a second one. Should and when we have it. So everybody take care out there, and we'll talk to you later.